This edition of Press R. In more developed societies, the political program, the manifesto, and or the achievements of a presidential candidate are the yardsticks with which voters measure and decide whether to take or reject a runner for the top job. In those societies, presidential candidates outline their programs on the well-being and welfare of the citizens. The health policy, the economic policy, the foreign policy, and infrastructural development can make or mar for a presidential aspirant. In those advanced societies, a promise is a debt, and the ballot of the voter is the court. That should be our target. It should be the vision of every country in the democratization process. We should get there one day. What will be the top priorities that as a Cameroonian, you will give your mandate to a presidential candidate to address? Another question we ask on the program today is, are gifts to voters during campaigns motivations or corruption? I am Kilian Dan Difoni Yaoundé, and this is Press R. Welcome back. You are watching Press R, and we are broadcasting live from Studio 4 of the CRTV Production Center at Mbalatu in Yaoundé. Our topics for today, we have 2025 presidential. What should be the top priorities or the top issues to be discussed, to be expected from presidential candidates? What do you want them as Cameroonians to put in their manifestos that can swing you to go behind one candidate or the other? The second thing we will be talking about today on Press R is gifts to voters during campaigns, like during election period. Are they motivation or corruption? And that's what we're going to drill you on today on this special edition of Press R. To talk about this as panelists on the set, we have Reverend Professor Anyambot Emmanuel Anya, who is a moral authority. Professor, we are so glad to have you on Press R set today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're welcome. We have Dennis Kemlemo, who is an educationist. He's also of the civil society. We welcome you to Press R today, Dennis.
Thank you, Kilian.
And we have Ngala Kilian Chimtom, who is a publisher and editor-in-chief. He also is a freelance journalist. Kilian, welcome.
I'm happy to be here back.
Thank you so much for coming. We have Seseko Eyongta, who is just coming in. I would like to introduce him before we continue. We make everything possible to receive all our guests as he walks in here. Seseko Eyongta, Seseko Dr. Eyongta, we have him sitting down. He is a traditional ruler, and just by his dressing also, it confirms that he is one. You are the traditional ruler of the Fotabe village, if I'm not making a mistake.
Very correct.
You are very welcome to Press R today, Seseko.
Thanks very much, and my greetings to all the other members of the panel. I am late because the Manu community in Yaoundé is carrying out its first maiden edition of what we call the Manu Cultural Festival. And we've been there since a week now. We'll be rounding up today. And the Ekpe Society, which I'm a high priest, is leading the activities. So from here, I'll be rushing there.
Thank you so much for putting on hold such very charged and high-level program of your people to come and attend to the call that we offer to you on Press R. You are not very late because we have introduced you with the rest of the panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to invite Emmanuel Avemnui. Press R. which is Press Review. Manuela.
Presidential poll remains that one story running through most newspaper columns the week ending. Elekam retains 13 candidates for the October election in the Post newspaper, and the Horizon presents the 13 candidates selected by Elekam. Publishing the faces of the candidates, the Guardian Post writes race to Unity Palace on the starting block. To the Sun, the race narrows down to 13. Cameroon Tribune carries the same story, while Breaking News Beleng reports that many are called and few are chosen. But the interest of the media is on what it headlines October presidential race, Kamto, blocked by Elekam. Apparently not a surprise to the voice that writes presidential candidature, Kamto, as expected. News Herb wants to know if Kamto is a threat to the regime. The Voice quotes Human Rights Watch: exclusion of Maurice Kamto harms election credibility. The Median quotes Territorial Administration Minister Paula Tanganji: rejected candidates should weep in silence and not on the streets. OC Joshua then extends hand to rejected candidates and calls for a joint force against Biya in the Post newspaper. Just when Cameroon Tribune provides reasons why their candidacies were thrown out, aggrieved parties whose papers were rejected by Elekam then head for the Constitutional Council in Cameroon Insider, and some 20 petitions are received by the body in Cameroon Tribune as of Tuesday. What the Guardian Post describes as presidential comedy, which moves to the Constitutional Council, stating that 35 petitions have been submitted. Eco outlook is clear that the Constitutional Council will have to rule on Kamto's rejection dilemma. At the time, PM holds political consultations in Boya in Cameroon Insider, what the Herald Tribune sees as Dion Gute sets tone for CPDM victory in Fako and Meme divisions. News Herb describes the process as Prime Minister fortifies Southwest CPDM elite with victory techniques. To municipal updates, PM galvanizes Fako and Meme to massively vote Biya. The advocate sees PM Ngute seals Biya's victory in Southwest come October. Then, the presidency blocks Chiroma from traveling abroad in the Guardian Post. To Cameroon Acres, presidential election candidate Issa Chiroma stopped from traveling to Senegal. Municipal Updates reports that after failed mission to visit grave of Cameroon's former president Amadou Ahidjo in Senegal, Ahidjo's family tells of Issa Chiroma. Just when land grabbers are frustrating government's effort to restructure CDC in the Guardian Post, CDC management warns against encroachment and destruction of property in Ombe in News Herb. Government then weighs in on mobile telephone and internet connectivity issues in Cameroon, assuring the population in Cameroon Tribune of strides made to improve the offer, before tributes pour in for the divisional officer Manchang Nicholas, with municipal updates describing his demise as painful goodbye. The Guardian Post adds that the deceased Dio escaped from Amber Camp and is killed a year later. The Horizon indicates that the Dio of Bamenda II succumbed to bullet injuries in Douala. Boya Diocese then celebrates Bishop Bibi's 25th anniversary in the priesthood in the Post, as Bishop Bibi thanks God for 25 years in priesthood in the Herald Tribune. Until I come your way again, this is your hour with the press.
Yes, Emanuela, and the hour with the press continues here on the set. We watched Emanuela review the newspapers, and as usual, we're going to ask the pressman on the set, Ngala Kilian Jim Tom, to pick just one issue we'll talk about, and then we'll get into our discussion. Kilian.
Yeah, of course, there are so many things that one could have spoken about, but what actually caught my attention is this idea that if you are not happy with your government, you just have to go back to your house and weep in silence. That's what the Minister of Territorial Administration wants us to do. But I want to say this, that democracy, the cornerstone of democracy, is the power to protest, the right to protest. And the right to protest for the right is critical to democratic expression. And this notion that people have to go and weep in their homes it doesn't just make sense. In Kenya, I followed your program last week, where you seemed to be at odds with the fact that Kenyans took to the streets to protest against the high cost of living. They have that right. Okay, people have a right to protest, and this notion that you don't have a right to protest, and that a minister will come out with a monolithic or whatever, a blender to just grind you and turn you into paste. I think this is intimidation, and in an electoral year, it is wrong, and we should call it out for what it is. It is wrong.
Killian, the concept of wrong and right is a very complicated thing.
It's not that complicated.
This is what I'm saying.
The notion of democracy is contradiction.
This is what, yes, contradiction is the word. But the notion, this is what I'm telling. This is what we are saying. We are all intellectuals.
Yeah.
The concept of wrong or right, we have.
Well, it's subjective. We have
a doctor, PhD here. We have a professor, of course, here. And once you classify someone or something as wrong in
Cameroonian democracy. It's Cameroonian democracy.
Killian, look at.
No, what I'm saying is that look at this. We say we are in democracy.
This is what we are saying. We are not in democracy. What are we? We are in a democracy. Good. We are in a democratization process.
To a democracy.
We are in a democratization process.
Happen in a democracy.
This is what we are saying.
Freedom of movement, freedom of association. All of those things are a package.
When you were talking about
democratic practice.
When you were talking about Molinex,
yeah,
you put your hands this way.
Because I'm quoting somebody.
You are quoting somebody, and if you want, some of us, that's your reading of what the minister said. Some other people, I am included. Let me give you my reading of what the minister said.
Yeah.
Freedom of expression is a fundamental right in Cameroon.
Yes, it is.
And expression doesn't mean destruction. No, come. Let's come. I allowed you to speak. I allowed you to speak. I am reading.
Yeah.
I am reading. You read what you think the minister said.
Yeah.
I am reading what I know the minister said. And you don't. In as much as I have said that is your reading,
yeah,
I am giving my own reading.
Sure.
That what in Cameroon in the constitution is said that freedom of speech, of movement, of expression is a fundamental right of Cameroon.
It's allowed. Good.
Right?
Of course.
So if a minister says, if you are rejected, you should go and weep in your house. Of course, from that place to your house, you will weep. And part of the weeping can be protest, peaceful protest. You must not destroy. Okay, we have had. It's not between you and I.
In fact,
it is not between you and I.
Destruction within
let us get the ideas. Let us get the ideas of the other panelists on that issue. Yes.
Killian, thank you very much for inviting me on this. The concept of right and wrong is a subjective judgment, which can be analyzed otherwise, and. The freedom of speech and freedom to protest and freedom to do anything has to be regulated.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the texts have to define the areas in which you want to do your protest. And the person to organize a protest must guarantee that people's property will not be destroyed and there will be no violence.
Absolutely.
Now, and I think when the minister talks about people crying in their homes or wherever, and my reading of it is that what he wants to do is he doesn't want to see disorder, but anything which has to be done should be done very orderly, so that we as Cameroonians don't go killing ourselves and destroy property, because we have seen that already. Yeah. It has happened. It's not the first time that we have seen people manifesting. People are killed, property are destroyed. It should be done orderly. If you want to cry, you cry in your house, and then later on, you put up a manifesto or a request that we want to protest on this day. And these are the conditions and the areas in which I'm going to protest. And you guarantee that people's property will not be destroyed. And I think in that way, there will be no problem in that light. Freedom of speech does not mean disorder.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dennis. Let this issue not steal our subjects for today.
I want to say that, if you feel that you have unjustifiably handled in the selective process for candidatures, you should go and cry in your house is excessive. It is excessive coming from a minister. I think that is almost like Cartier talk, as they say in quotes. I want to agree with Killian that peaceful protest is a fundamental right. Absolutely. And most often, we talk of people protest that turn to disorder. Most often, it is the forces that come in who are supposed to come and accompany the protesters to see that they are in order, that come and start throwing tear gas and shooting, and then it gets stone starts, and then eventually you see it turns to something else. I think we should encourage protests because it is a way for putting pressure on reforms all over the world. In Western countries where we are learning democracy from them, they make sure that every time when people go out to protest on one thing or the other, most often serious governments look at, when they see the crowd outside, they re-examine their position to see whether this was a mistake of an individual who took that decision or it is according to the law. So I want to believe that we should tolerate protests in Cameroon because very little protests that could result to nothing and people losing their lives, because our forces of law and order give us the impression that most often they are not very professional in handling protests.
Now, let me just continue with you. When you qualify the statement as Cartier talk,
yes,
which also is excessive, let me tell you why I think it's excessive and you defend that.
Yes.
When you are addressing someone, you react to someone's behavior proportionate to what the person does. If you are addressing someone who behaves like a Cartier person, you should use Cartier talk. That is, generally speaking, without defending anyone.
Yes. So how does the person to whom the message was addressed behave as a Cartier person?
Reverend Professor Anyambot said that if the minister says such things, he is addressing people who have, instead of protesting in an ordinary manner, has destroyed property.
Yes.
It means he is telling those people that if you have intention to come again and destroy, that is the Cartier behavior. So he should use Cartier language. Now we are going to get the opinion of Seseko, Dr. Eyongta.
Well, Killian, you know, when we write figures or numbers, there are these two numbers that are always contradictory depending on how you look at it. That is 9 and 6. If you write 9 somehow, somebody will call it 9 versus somebody will call it 6.
This is a good one.
So I think all what we are saying stand within that premise of how you see 9 and 6. Mm-hmm. You know, what we will say is, what I will say personally from my own observation is that we are in an electoral year which is very delicate and one of the most crucial presidential elections that this country may ever have. And so we need to be very cautious in terms of how we attack issues or how we address issues, because as we know, there are a lot of grievances in people's mind, and they just need the little opportunity for them to spark off. So if government is trying to take measures to try to put people calm or make people calm, we will accept that, but only caution that it should be done with a lot of caution. You know, the minister is at a very delicate situation and very delicate position, and he knows what can happen if people take to the streets without control or guidance. Yeah. And you know, we know what happened to our 2 regions. We'll always go back to that, to our 2 regions when people came out. Even those who even brought them out at one point could no longer control them.
Yeah, the 2 regions, yes. Since many people are watching press out of Cameroon and other places.
Yeah, the Northwest and the Southwest regions, yes. People could no longer control them. Yeah. And we know what is happening up to date. So we will say that as much as the minister has the right to put order in things, they should give room for people to do that orderly. And when they request to do it orderly, they should be granted the aspect. Because, for example, when people were to go to the Lekam head office, at that point, you don't know who came there and under which basis. If they decide to start protesting there, it becomes an unofficial protest. Okay. Which the law doesn't accept in Cameroon.
That's correct.
If they have to go tomorrow to the Congress Hall to maybe watch what is happening and a result comes out that does not please some, they could start something there that even the person who may be disqualified or persons that will be disqualified may not be okay with that. So I think what we are calling is the government should be very careful with the way they handle issues, the way they talk to the population, and the population should also be very vigilant not to be dragged into something that they will not be able to carry.
Thank you so much, and that leads us to our first topic on today's edition of Press Hour, and we are reminding ourselves, you and ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, that 2025 is a presidential election year, and it's on October 12. It is no longer far away from now. We are asking if you were to tell the presidential candidates to be, what will be the 3 top priorities that you want them address in this country? In other words, you will assess them on how they handle, how they succeed, or on how they fail in handling those issues. I'm going to start with our Reverend Professor Anya Morton Manuel. Anya.
Thank you very much. I wanted to make a brief comment that there is what we refer to as corruption of eloquence. I don't know whether we know what that means. Corruption of eloquence. Somebody who is very eloquent and can influence people beyond their reasoning. Yeah. And they behave without knowing what they are doing. One thing which we must do in this country is to be very careful with the corruption of eloquence. There are people who are very eloquent, who can sway the population to any direction they want, and before you realize it, they will not be able to control that population anymore, and the damage is already done. Okay. Just like what His Royal Highness was saying. So we have to be very careful in that light. If there is anything we have to ask any of the candidates running for the presidency for 2025, the very first thing is peace, peace, peace. And I will define what I mean by that. We have in this country the northwest and the southwest regions that are almost being extinct because of the problem we have in this nation, which have not yet been fully addressed. They are being partially addressed, and I would think that for every candidate, if we were to have their manifestos, and there was going to be a public town hall meetings, we'll be asking them face to face to tell us exactly what plan they have to resolve the problems which are prevailing in the northwest and in the southwest, and how they can instill peace to come back. Northwest and southwest have become refugees all over the world now. Not only in Cameroon, but all over the world. Is that what we expect our people to become? Of course not. So the very first thing would be, Mr. Candidate, you want to be a presidential candidate, you want to become the president of this country, what is the plan you have in your manifesto to resolve the problems which are in the northwest and in the southwest? That would be the very first point.
Yes.
We may come back to that later on.
Yes,
but that's what I would expect every candidate to be able to define. Because I've listened to some of them, they're making promises which are almost impossible, and leaving out the fundamental problem which we have in this country, northwest and southwest, and I'm wondering where we are going to with these candidates.
Dennis, are you commenting on this further, or you are bringing in a new issue that the presidential candidates should address?
Yes, I can add some impetus to what Prof has said.
And you suggest?
And then I touch another area. This is a crisis that came from simple, legitimate demands of teachers and lawyers, and which were a translation of the frustration of part of this country that agreed to join with their brothers since 1961. And it was very badly handled, which has generated to a full war that has lasted for 9 years.
Crisis.
Which is still ongoing. Has transformed the northwest and southwest to a ghost zone, because the predominant solution provided by the government was the military solution. So people who are coming up and telling us that we should invest our trust in them for the next 7 years should, as Prof said, concretely tell us that other than the military solution, which has shown its limits, what solution is alternative solution do they have in their bags? We will not be interested just only in what they will tell us. Prof talked of rhetoric corruption through corrupting the mind through discourse. We will not be. I will advise Cameroonians in my little capacity that we should not be looking at high-sounding, smooth speeches on things that they will do with regard to that crisis. But Cameroonians should look beyond what they are saying to see how they have lived their life. This crisis didn't start today. How they have actively participated in one way or another, the type of solution they have been raising. And so they are coming just to reiterate what personal level, at what personal level, at their little level have they put in. It should not just be now that they think that the magic one can come. So we have to go beyond what they say, examine them too. And that goes with other promises that other candidates have to give us.
Yes, you said you were going to bring the second issue. They must dress as candidates.
Yes. The second issue is total breakdown in state discipline. Cameroon, the people have the impression in Cameroon that Cameroon is no longer governable. Because the latest is what shocked the whole Cameroonian society and entire world, misuse of public authority, what happened with a police officer in the commissariat. And this is not isolated. Ministers, directors...
It's governed because with immediate effect, that high-level official of the police was removed from his position.
If you didn't stop me, you will have maybe not come in that way. I'm saying that that incident is one out of so many hundreds of thousands. I was saying that ministers, directors, every municipal administrators, parliamentarians, every person with little authority in his own corner acts as a king in total disregard of the texts. And that is why corruption is so rampant, embezzlement is so rampant. And if measures have to even come to address some of those issues, they are highly belated. So we want a candidate to convince us that he has to come first of all and put order in public administration and public services. There must be that disciplinarian who will come and make sure that acts that are punishable in time and are seen by the public state to be punishable.
Thank you. We're going to move to Seseko, Dr. Eyong-Ta. Are you bringing a new issue that should be addressed, top priority issue by whoever is vying for the top position in the country, or you comment on what has been said by Professor Anyambot and Dennis Nkemlemo?
Well, I think I would prefer to take us a little bit further.
Thank you.
While I consider the aspect Prof raised as point number one, especially coming from one of the two regions. So that is point number one. But to resolve that point number one, personally, I think the focus should be on the form of the state. I have insisted about the form of the state since 2016. And I have the opportunity today to reiterate on that. You know, the form of the state conditions governance. And when you bring in a form of state that decentralizes power, not just in terms of, we can say, verbal power, but in terms of economic power, and you give also decentralization of the other forms or arms of the government, like the judiciary, it empowers things to go smoothly and resolves all the other problems. Because if you notice, just like the other speaker said, the issue of the Northwest and Southwest stems from the aspect of the form of the state. If the form of the state had been maintained, or even if they brought decentralization, which was brought in 1996 and it was implemented, there are high chances that those who called for movements will not have succeeded the way they did. So that is my first problem. And when I listen to most of the other aspirants, apart from the incumbent who already has what he wants as his own form of state, though not yet applicable to our satisfaction, they gamble. They gamble. Even those who say they are federalists, when you ask them what type of federation do they want to, they tell you when they will come to power, a referendum will decide that. No, it shows that you are not yet certain on what you want to do. You are waiting to get there. Point number 2, as we said, the justice system. One of our greatest problems in this country is the justice system. Once people are sure that if they take any wrong to justice, they will get justice, it helps to regulate those who could say they are powerful against the less powerful. And the less powerful against the powerful, knowing that there is what we can call the mediating organ. As a traditional ruler, that is how we manage our society. There is this issue of representation. You know, when you hear today people talking about tribal identity and so on, it has gone the same on the governance aspect of, like in our traditional setup, my village has 9 quarters. Irrespective of how small that quarter is, it is represented in the traditional council through what we call a quarterhead. So that when we are deciding anything, the quarters are all represented and they have nobody to blame for their demise or for something that was taken against them. That is our traditional democratic process in Africa, and which we are still promoting and encouraging our governments to try to emulate, so that everybody will feel belonging and everybody will be inside. Again, when you look at it, the social responsibilities, if Cameroonians have the basics, Cameroonians are very hardworking, contrary to what many people think. I will give you one example. In our area, about 50% of Manu villages today are electrified through solar electricity. 50% of Manu villages.
And that's community
initiative. Yes, exactly, bro. Exactly that. Which means because we are people who have developed in that spirit. We know community development. Even when we are in town, we do things in village meetings and so on. The target is always, what do we take back home? And that is who we are. So we can inculcate some of these instincts inside those who intend to govern, to tell us practically how they are going to do that within the scope of a country which is bigger than our small villages.
Thank you so much. We know that the presidential candidates or candidates to be are following what we are saying here, and they know that you represent what public opinion. Killian, your take on the 3 other speakers, either you comment or you bring in a new point.
You know, coming from the English-speaking regions, it's just a given that the problems, reckon that those regions should actually come first. Because for the past 8 years, I've not been able to go back to my village.
But we are advising you to talk to presidential candidates who will be for the whole country.
Yes, I'm talking. And I will not go back to what the previous speaker said. And just to comment on what His Royal Highness said, it looks like it's what Cabral Libby is proposing, a federalism of people, where you are taking cognizance of the traditional setups of every tribe when you are designing your federal system of government. So somehow, I think he's talking about real representation of people so that every part of this country feels that they belong. And I think that is the crux of the issue. I don't have a problem with nomenclature. I mean, whether it's a federal structure of government or even a decentralized system of government, the bottom line, I believe, is that people should feel that they are participating in the governance of their country. Now, let me not talk about the Anglophone problem. I think between the 1970s and the 1980s could be qualified as the golden age of the Cameroon economy because we had industries that were producing things. Many of those industries have folded up over the past 40 years. Many of them have declined. And I think that any candidate coming up should have a reindustrialization plan so that we begin to make things and sell things and then get away from these continued a dependency on imports. So we cannot be talking about what the government says, the import substitution, when we are not making anything, we are not producing anything. We still import toothpick. 5 billion francs every year to import toothpick. It doesn't make sense. So I think that this.
But the government is packing import substitution policy on local production. That's what the government is.
Exactly, that's what we are talking about. But you can't be importing things that compete with your local industries. You can't be importing things that you produce or that you are supposed to produce. We used to produce tires, for example. Cameroon used to produce tires for vehicles. That industry completely folded off because we started importing a lot of tires from other countries, especially Asia, and then they competed with local industries and then chased those local industries out of business. It's the same thing with matches and things like that.
Okay.
So I think that the candidates should come up with clear plans on how they intend to reindustrialize the country.
Thank you so much. Those were just about 3 priorities out of so many that concern the whole country, Cameroon. Candidates from the debate here on the set should go for what people request from them and make sure that they answer to the call of the citizens. And at this moment, still concerning the election that is coming up, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to ask the panelists, the 4 panelists here on the set with me, gifts to voters during election, of course, motivation or corruption. We know the campaign period will be coming up 2 weeks, that is at the end of September, because the election is on the 12th of October. So if you count 15 days before the 12th of October, that would be by 27, 28 or so of October. That's when the campaigns will start. And that's when you will also have people going to the field to give so many things to the voters. They will give rice, they give money, they give so many other things. Now we are asking on Press R, those gifts at that particular moment, do they constitute motivation, which is part of human behavior, or it is sheer corruption? I'm going to start with Seseko Dr. Eyongta.
Well, Killian, I think I will go in for both words you've used there, motivation or corruption, or motivation and. I will change the or with and. It is motivation and corruption at the same time. What do I mean by motivation? In the sense that most often when these gifts are given, they are not done purely on partisan lines in terms of show me your voter's card before I give you. Show me your party card before I give you. Sometimes they are done generally to those
the problem
who
with the
attend.
timing.
Yes.
Yeah, during the election,
I'm coming.
you come to the field,
Yes,
you are on campaign,
yes.
and then you are giving somebody, offering somebody a gift,
Yes.
and then asking that person that, well, election is at the corner.
I still stand that it is motivation on the basis that if you come and remove me from my house to come and listen to you talk, or you make me not to go to my farm, or not to go to my workplace to come and listen to you talk because you want me to vote you, you are supposed to make me feel not lost, or I have not lost everything for coming to listen to you. That is our custom and tradition. If you invite me to something, you are supposed to compensate me for that time I've wasted. So I stand to say it is motivation.
Before I go around,
And,
I will still ask you, before I take the microphone round, I'm asking you, if it's someone who has not been coming to give you that particular thing,
yes.
do you still hold that as motivation? Because if it's somebody who has been coming up from time to time and giving you, you could think that, I'm asking to.
I know you're right, and that's why I said I go for the 2.
Okay.
Because the corruption aspect now comes with specificities. For example, the day of voting, we know cases there where you are now giving a gift on condition that you prove that you voted for A or you voted for B. That is, to me, where the corruption aspect comes in. But if you come to a village because of election and you come and give things generally, the corruption aspect is not 100% as when it comes to giving you 2,000 to go and vote and come and prove that you voted. Because if I am in a village, for example, and I don't have a voter's card, they come and give rice and I take. You have corrupted me in what basis? Or if you came and gave me, I did not ask me that, show me your voter's card, show me your party card. If you don't have, I will not give you, it is done in some places. It's not corruption.
Now we have a moral authority on this set. We want to ask whether, from the point of view of morals, giving, can it go more for motivation or corruption? Or let me just take the words of Seseko Dr. Eyongta, that if you give and you do not force, you do not push, you do not influence me to vote, that he will not consider corruption. Could that be corruption, moral corruption? That's why I come to you.
Killian, thank you very much. Those words are a little bit difficult to to be well defined. We know the act of corruption has to do with buying somebody's conscience, not to reason the way the person would have normally reasoned. The question is already bought, and the person does what normally would not have done. That's an act of corruption. But on the other hand, when like the Excellency Ms. Rahana said it there, a gift which can become a motivation is intended to encourage somebody to do something, or you appreciate somebody for having done something. And that appreciation can be seen as a motivation to perform better in the future. And it becomes difficult to know at what time is it thing which is given as a motivation becomes corruption, because it is in the person giving who has an intention.
Yeah.
The person who is giving has an intention either to corrupt or to appreciate.
The person receiving,
and the person,
if their reasoning faculties are full, will also be able to know whether this is corruption or motivation.
You may be able to know, but not in all circumstances, because the intention is here is very, very important. What is the intention of giving a gift to somebody? And can that intention be defined by the receiver? The receiver may receive it and not change his conscience at all. He may receive it and doesn't change his opinion about anything. And so it becomes a little bit difficult for us to determine an act, which particular act is an act of corruption or act of appreciation. But in the final analysis, when any person, be a presidential candidate or whoever, gives somebody something with the intention of buying the person's conscience, you kill the person's morality and you kill the person's integrity. And the person has no virtue anymore. Yeah. And whoever receives and acts as such has indirectly sold his own conscience and has killed his conscience and doesn't have any moral authority, and the society becomes a corrupt society.
Dennis, your take on that?
If we pin ourselves on the nebulous concept of intention, we will not be able to find our way out, because intentions are internal, yes, except somebody expresses it overtly. So I think that to pin this discussion on intentions will not help us move forward. What I think Cameroonians should understand is that coming to listen to a message of a presidential candidate is not a favor you are doing to him. You want to invest 7 years of your destiny on somebody who will define the way your life will be. It is important you leave other things and listen to make sure that you make the right choice. So you are not giving that person a favor, which means that you say you have abandoned some of your things to come, and then he has not even given you water to drink. He's not there to give you water to drink. He's there to tell you what he will do with the destiny, your destiny that you confide on him. In some advanced democracies, unfortunately, because of poverty and mentality, we are not yet there. It is the population that finances the candidates. When they discover that this person is somebody who can solve our problems, they are the one that push the candidate through in all the difficulties. Let us try educating people to get there. Gifts that are cared for 7 years.
Beyond even financing, the people are sovereign.
Sorry?
They are sovereign.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
So when
without even financing, they can decide.
The Cameroonians should know that they are the kingmakers. They should not underrate the power of their vote. And so they should come like masters that the candidates are seeking for employment from them. You don't expect somebody, your potential employee, to come and be giving you gifts when you want to recruit him. So gifts are sometimes poisonous, especially when they are given at certain times, periods. And so I would think that let us not mistake this for logistical means. Because, no, let me come, because I've been a field politician.
Yeah.
Logistical means what? Campaigns are expensive. They are not expensive in terms of buying sardine and bread and giving to people. Buying bread, buying salt, fish, and soap, savon, and giving to people. It's expensive because when you need to have a rally where you expect thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, they are the setting, the means. I mean, you know what that means. You have to rent an area. You have to rent the sound system. You have to look for field workers who will go out and spread the information that this person is coming at this time. You need organizers. You need a team workers. That is what we call logistics. It's not about buying soap and giving to people. It's not about giving 5,000 to people that you want to motivate them. So I think that it's just like you cannot call a meeting in your house and you not make provision if you have only 5 chairs in the house, you need to look for the number of chairs that the people who will come will sit there. That's what I mean by logistics. But to say that you go and tell people that at the end, when this rally finish, pass there, you will get this, and people are going and taking and going. That is corruption.
Thank you. Before I get to Killian, I want to ask Iseko, Dr. Yongta, why he has been giggling all along. Dennis was speaking.
I'm laughing because of the hypocrisy of these politicians sometimes. Dennis is my friend.
I'm not a politician.
Yeah, you were. And when you were my friend, and you are still my friend. I know what you people used to do.
I accept that description of hypocrisy from around me.
I like the unpragmatic way that you people discuss sometimes on air and do the contrary behind. Because I know what you did when you were a candidate.
Can you cite some of those examples?
I will not. It's not a personal issue. I'm laughing because
you know what I did.
Yes, I know.
Imagine that?
And I know what you people have been doing. I have been a beneficiary in the corrupt direction.
From me.
I didn't say you. I say you people. I say pragmatic. I say politicians. You are one of them because you were an active member of the. So what I'm laughing is that I like the way they do certain things. You know. When he says logistics, blah, 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 you know those logistics, they give it to themselves. Not like they give it to a non-party member. All those things that they do within themselves.
And those are acts of corruption.
Of course, those are acts of corruption to stay within them. And I am saying so because I have been receiving people to that effect. And I know sometimes they even give me party uniforms.
Oh, so by saying that,
them, even t-shirts.
Those are acts of corruption.
No, but I'm telling you what people do. But that's why I said I'm pragmatic.
That has nothing to do with logistics.
But that is why I'm telling you the same thing that we are saying, that you cannot come here and say that people cannot go as if you people have not been practicing it.
We people who I'm condemning an event, you say we.
Yeah, because you are condemning that because you have left active parties.
What are you talking about?
I have been with you people. I have taken part in your rallies.
So everything that my former party used to do is on my head.
So that is not what I wanted to say. No, your former party, you were an active ESCO member, you were a NEC member. I am saying pragmatic things that I
and you have seen me bribing people.
I've said I don't want to index you. I've said you people, the politician. It's not personal. I think we're talking here to the public.
The way you talk, people will understand
don't give the impression that way. You are even one of the people who used to tell people that when they give them, as I think Prof said, so they should take. Because they used to tell them that it is their taxpayers' money. I'm sure you have heard that thing time and again. Your former party, which I say we are not indexing people. Me, I'm pragmatic.
Don't tap my life to a party that I only met and left.
No, but the party that you were there, this was one of your language. That when they give people things, take.
Can you quote me on any instant on that?
I didn't say it's personal, Keblemo. I'm talking about generalities. When we leave this platform, we are going to say the things that go personal. Yes, not personal.
Because it's a panel. When you say you are
saying your party because you are a NEC member.
No, I'm not. You keep telling me in a party that I even got disappointed so much with. Maybe that's one of the reasons I left.
I agree with you.
Why are you attacking me with the party?
I didn't say you. You are still missing the point.
Now you have said he's not talking about you.
I'm not talking about you. I still insist.
I'm
not talking about you.
The message. No, people respect.
No, I'm not talking about your person. No.
The message. We are not talking to ourselves.
Yes, it's not personal.
We are not talking to ourselves. You know, the discussion we have here is for our televiewers.
That is it.
And they are going to make
their judgment from what we say
on what we have said. Thank you for that. I also understand that since
my brother is a traditional ruler, there are many things that traditional do that are very unorthodox. I cannot come and be referring to you people.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I don't do
You
that.
now,
people will not be me.
the discussion between the two of you, we are going to move forward. Ngala Killian has the microphone. Ngala Killian has the microphone now. He's not talked about. You have not talked about whether gifts to voters is motivation.
Yeah, Dennis also used to be a teacher as well, and I think he was very didactic the way he did a sort of expose, trying to encourage people to understand that their votes has power, that the vote has power. But to the initial question, whether these gifts amount to corruption, and you premised your question so well. You said if somebody has not been coming and giving you gifts, and then during our election season, he suddenly shows up and then he's distributing salt, giving you the intention, and the Reverend said it so well, the intention, and we cannot just sweep the idea of an intention under the carpet. The intention of that man, and if we are analyzing it, must be to sway your vote.
That's it.
If you are not yet a convinced militant or supporter, they want to convince you with salt and sardine and savon and whatever. And when they do that, they silence your voice. And then your vote doesn't count. And then you cannot come up tomorrow and then call them to account when they start misbehaving in public office. So this thing about, giving gifts is actually, and I think it is born out of the politicization of poverty. In Cameroon, we have 40% of the population living below the poverty line, as per the World Bank. And when you have that critical majority, that critical number of people who live day to day, and they cannot even afford 4 square meals in a day or 3 square meals, when politicians show up with what little money they have, these people, you can't really just blame all of them, because sometimes it's the only time when they can afford to put oil, simple oil. I've traveled the length and breadth of this country, and I know the amount of misery and suffering and pain that people face. When you go up north, you see pain. You go to the east, where, we exploit a lot of wood from that area. There are people there who live in conditions that you cannot imagine. So just imagine that a politician shows up and is giving a liter of oil. And that old woman who has not been able to buy a liter of oil for 1 month,
surely
they will take.
Yes, they will.
They will take. And I say this with so much pain, because I've done some reporting with the Baka pygmies, for example. These are people who virtually sold away their own votes.
No, that is, I will ask you, whether what you have said doesn't give substance to what Dennis is.
I'm trying to explain this to show how politicians are exploiting poverty to gain the people's vote.
Now,
to their own advantage. But what Dennis was saying, and it's what he said so well,
Seseko
he just wants people to understand that these politicians, when they're giving you money, it's not because they love you so much. It's only because they want to buy their way to power. And when they get to power, you don't have a voice anymore to ever question their actions, because they bought your vote in the first place.
Now, Killian, this is what made Seseko, Dr. Eyongta, and my friend Dennis Nkemlimo to argue to that level. He is quoting him, not now, in those days, and quoting the party he belonged to.
Yeah.
Which I agree, because we have been following, that they used to say, if they bring the things you take, but go and vote your conscience. That's what was happening. He is no longer there. We accept. But when he was there, that was an official position of that political party. Now, this is Killian.
And I think that I actually follow some of their rallies, which they said all of those things.
Killian, this is what
I also think that the very idea that they were saying, take the money but vote your conscience, is a didactic method. They are saying that those gifts don't really count. And they are telling people that those gifts, they are not giving because they love you. They are giving because they want to buy your conscience. They refuse to be bought. Refuse to be bought. And they are saying that they were actually indexing.
After that, they also gave water and drinks to the people who are there.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, I was talking from.
Yeah, but you didn't get the other part. I'm saying that when they say so, the same people who have come for their own rallies, they also send them to places
Can
to
you
go and
give
Now-
water and drink to
Now-
10,000,
Are we getting the
15,000
point?
people?
Now,
who
That is why
attend?
it is.
we do not need to. We are not going to stay
I'm
there.
pragmatic. I'm saying
We
what
are,
I
we are
know.
not going to stay
Are
there.
you saying that the practice is good, or what is
That
the
is not
point
what I
now?
said.
Then what is the argument
That is
about?
not
No,
the argument.
the argument
You
is
are
not-
the
Or
one
let them
interpreting
say
your own way.
that my party used to do like that, so it should continue, or
That
what
is
is
not
the
what
point
I
you want
said.
to
But
make?
that is you
I
saying
think we're
so.
actually missing the
That is not what I
idea
said.
What is the
gifts
point
here.
you want
That
to
is
make?
not what I
We
said.
have
think-
4
I don't
minutes
think we
left.
did- we should-
Killian.
Yes, that
we
is not
have
what I
4
said.
minutes
They are
left.
the one
I just want
Yes,
interpreting.
I will keep the microphone with you.
Yeah,
and
we
know,
don't-
know that the contribution is already our way out.
Yeah.
That's your own way forward.
Well, I was just saying that this idea of gifts should not be conflated with people organizing a rally and then cooking food and eating as a family. I think the notion that because you have a cup of water to drink during a rally,
It's
maybe
corruption.
that I don't think we journalists we are permitted to take gifts in, provided it doesn't exceed. If somebody gives you breakfast, for example, that person is not necessarily buying your conscience. But if somebody gives you a certain amount of money, you begin to suspect that this guy is giving you this money to buy your conscience. And I think that even journalists have been complicit in all of this because we go collect money from politicians and then we fail to question even the policies that they are putting forward. And I think that it's high time journalists in this country begin to address the issues of the day and begin to question what politicians are proposing. Because some of them, they make very outlandish promises, knowing they will never be able to keep.
Seseko, Dr. Eyong-Ta, we are going to end this program on this note. You have been taking, and you don't consider that corruption, you will take, especially you are a traditional ruler. It's not only about you. What do you tell the voters about those gifts they should take, but they should not let that influence their vote? Is that the way out? And how can they practically do that?
Well, I think with all the talking that we have made this far, Cameroonians have become very politically enlightened. Even to the little corners, when you go there, you hear them talking politics, you wonder if they don't know what they are talking about. And I'm insisting that some of these persons don't visit places until now that the time has come. And these same people gave them their confidence. It is time for them to sanction. They should accept it. I still insist they should accept it. It becomes a problem when you are giving that and then giving conditions to it. For example, I will say something funny here. Yesterday, we were in a meeting where a top politician of our era was making a statement. We were very conscious waiting for him to say certain things that could index us. He was very tactful and avoided everything, but he went political. For example, that is what some of us do. Because, for example, if people come to me to see me and they come that, I will not start giving them this stuff, but I have to receive them. Then there I tell my people, you know best where we are, what we want, you know these people. And so let us vote with our consciences. And that is the language we have been giving our people, and we still insist for now.
Thank you.
We know where we are.
The way out for you, Dennis.
I come back to what I said for reiteration. That, my dear fellow citizens, we know that this is the moment that we have to choose our destiny for the next 7 years. We are the kingmakers. Just with your vote, you are the kingmaker. Listen to everybody, talk. But have in mind, compare your life for the past 7 years. Think of what you envisage to have for the next 7 years. Listen to the people, and then you know them. The people who are talking to you, you know them. They don't come from the blues. Don't just judge them from what they are saying, but also judge from how you have been following them up for the past 7 years.
Thank you.
And make the best choice.
Thank you.
Forget about sardine. Forget about bread. Forget about mimbo. Forget about all those gifts that come only on election period.
Thank you. The respect, the last one that we have, goes to Reverend Professor Anyambot Emmanuel Anya, who is not only the eldest father on this set, he is also a moral authority.
Thank you very much. I want to appreciate all that we have said, and to conclude by saying the societal conscience, which is determined by every one of us, should not be killed by gifts which are given to us. We will have a societal collective conscience, which if we play with it, all of us would pay a price. You have said that you know what social media here, baby. Let me say something right from social media, which I got very briefly. There's a conference called by the ants to buy insecticide to kill cockroaches in the house. And they now take a vote. The housefly refused to vote. And the ants went ahead and bought insecticide, sprayed the whole house, all the cockroaches died, all the ants died, including the housefly that did not vote. In this country, if we refuse to vote and we kill our consciences, we shall die as the cockroaches, the ants, and the housefly, and all of us are destroyed.
Collective responsibility.
Collective responsibility, all of us.
Thank you so much. You understand that I didn't make any mistake to give the last word to you. Reverend Professor Anyambot Emmanuel Anya, Moral Authority, thank you so much for coming. Seseko Dr. Eyong Ta, that's traditional ruler of Fotabe village, that's the chief of that village, the Southwest region, thank you so much for coming. Dennis Kemlemo, who is an educationist of the civil society also, thank you for coming. Gala Kilian Chimtom, publisher, editor-in-chief, freelance journalist. I want to appreciate your presence on this set today. And to you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this program.